always wanted to ask you since I was young, but I don't think I ever got the opportunity to ask you that question. Why furniture making? With the 2-1 in accounts, very, very brilliant. You could be the next Akintola Williams. So why furniture making so early? Because then there wasn't anything like interior design in Nigeria in the early 80s. Why furniture?
Thank you very much for inviting me. I will start by thanking Dr. Maduka for that lovely introduction. I have very big shoes to fill. I hope I can cope. Thank you also for the honesty and the way you've spoken about your client, your business. Why furniture? Like I've always said, I mean, he said it, there's most of what Dr. Maduka has said is true about my own business. And like I said I came in with one of my mentees. Its business principles are the same across the board, whether you're selling water or you're selling cars. Why furniture? When I was growing up, when I was in school in the 70s, we didn't have career guidance counselors. Mentoring, which is such a buzzword now, was happening, but it was happening unofficially. I was very, very good in maths. I'm a mathematician. I think in puzzles. I solve mathematical solutions in my sleep. So I was very good in maths. I knew I was going to run a business even in secondary school. So I looked at what were my options. I didn't know what the business was going to be. So I chose to study accountancy because I was used to doing well in school and I felt I needed to continue that through university. So I thought, what is the easiest way? So I studied accountancy because there's the mathematical angle and because, like Dr. Maduka said, I knew I would have to keep track of the money. So it was good if I knew I was able to control that aspect of my business, whatever that business was going to be. One of the things, the person who introduced me, your colleague, he spoke about my father. My father was my first mentor. And he taught me a lot growing up. When I was born, he was so sure I was going to be a boy. And as an Igbo man, you know what that means.
I know.
So when they came and they said, I actually looked like a boy. So when he first got there, they said, Papa, bomboy. But when he got there, he saw it was a girl. He was actually disappointed. But once he got over that, he proceeded to raise me as his first son, which is why, I am what I am today. Now, one of the things he taught me, shortly after the war, we traveled to the States, and he pursued, he did his MBA. He took a master's in business administration. And whenever he would come home from the campus, he would talk to me about what he was learning. So at the age of 12, I was 12 then, I started learning about business. He actually used to boast to his friends that he taught me the principles of break-even analysis at the age of 12, and I understood it. So I've had that business background from home. Why furniture? When I got into, my parents were in the furniture business. I don't think I got into furniture because they were in the furniture business, because my father had other careers. But while I was in the university, I suddenly realized that with each, then we went 12 to a room, or I don't know how many we have to a room now in Nigeria. I was able to have a room to myself. And by the time I'd finished decorating my room, people from in the hostel, my fellow students would come to me and say, this is very nice. Can you come and do something like that for me? So that combined with the fact that when I went on holidays, I would work in my parents' company, I did realize that not only did I have an interest in it, I was actually a little good at it. So the rest is history. So that's why furniture. The other thing, like you said, when I eventually came out, when I eventually graduated with my degree in accountancy, studied a little bit of interior design, and started working in Casafina. My first job, I worked a little bit with my parents' company, and then I went over to Casafina and helped to found Casafina then in Lagos on Awolowo Road. At that time, furniture, I believe, was banned. It was still banned at that time. So I worked with them for a while. When I started my own business, the style of furniture, being that I'd lived and traveled all over the world, the style of furniture and interiors that I felt we should also be able to enjoy in Nigeria, it was no longer available because it had been banned. So that encouraged me to start manufacturing my own at that standard.
Thank you for that. So in starting an inventory, was capital ever an issue?
Oh yes, it was. Again, the same principles. Personally, I have always been a saver. I remember when my aunties and uncles would give me birthday money. I'm still known for it. I would share the money in half or whatever proportion, depending on how much it is. Put away a portion of it in my savings account and hold the rest. I've never really been a spender. When I started out, definitely capital was a problem. I worked with Casafina. When I left Casafina, I'm proud to say this habit that some young Nigerians have acquired over time. You work for somebody, while you're working there, you're running your own business on the side, using the person's resources or using the person's, dealing with the person's clients. I'm proud to say that as I left Casafina, I didn't take one single client from Casafina. I walked away, started my business. Because I was known at the time in the business, in working with Casafina, a few expatriates who hadn't been customers to Casafina approached me and asked if I was still interested in, if I was still going to be doing the same thing. And I said yes, and that's how we started. In our business, we request for a deposit, we still do, because furniture, the last thing you want to do is go into your client's house and start repossessing their furniture. So, and it's usually made to order. So we request for a deposit. When the furniture is ready, we request for a balance before we deliver mostly. Now we started with expatriates in design options, and expatriates, their word is their bond. So if they commit to you, at least at that time generally, if they commit to you, this is this, even if you don't collect the balance, you're guaranteed that once the job is well done, you will get paid as agreed. So that helped me to build my own capital, such that I didn't have to produce. I started by servicing orders. As I went along, I built my capital. When it got to the point, the first time I remember clearly seeking a facility, not even a loan, from a bank. I had an LPO from Shell, Shell Petroleum, SPDC. I put in my application. By the time my bank then, and this is a bank I had built a relationship with, by the time they responded to say your loan had been approved, 6 months later, the LPO was for maybe a month or so. We had done the job, delivered and collected our money. Then we just got a letter saying, oh, your facility has been approved. That was the first time. The second time was when we wanted to expand and we wanted a larger showroom. The same thing. We requested for a loan. By the time they got back to us, we had all our documentation in place. By the time they got back to us, we had already moved into the new premises. So like Dr. Maduka said, you need to also build your own capital. It's much better now. I think it's a lot more. There are a lot of we have programs like this. The country in Nigeria now, we're encouraging young entrepreneurs. It wasn't that the environment wasn't that friendly at the time.
Now, this question, I'm sure, as I'm asking it, I'm speaking the minds of most people. As an interior design company, you have to deal with a particular caliber of staff. How did you even manage to build design options and now DO.II to service such clients with the depth of talent we have in the country? A lot of us, the challenge as entrepreneurs is that we just can't find capable hands. And when you can find capable hands, you can't keep them. How have you managed for you to be able to service expatriates, for you to be able to service SPDC and the likes? It means you're doing something right. And Capital, you've managed that. How have you managed your talent issues?
You know, when they ask me, what are your greatest challenges? Yes, capital is a challenge, still is a challenge. But I would say, like you just pointed out, that the greatest challenges most of our businesses have now is talent, people. Like you said, as an interior designer, it's not so much as the interior designing aspect, because in order to interior design, you are employing professionals. It's as a furniture manufacturer, that's where the challenge is greatest. Like Dr. Maduka said, the issue of structure. When we started out, I was young like he was, even though I had a degree in accountancy, and I realized the advantage of structure. I didn't actually put it into place immediately. And like he said, when you then start trying to do it later on, it's a great fight. The people don't want to hear. They're used to doing things a particular way, and they don't see why you should change. So one of the things that has helped with that is structures. We're still, now we're structured now, but it took a long time. And in putting those structures in place, we found that it's not so much the blue-collar workers, funny enough, that are the problem. It's actually the white-collar workers, that the managers, the middle management, that's where we have to do a lot of training. What we've also tried to do is to let the people see a future for them in the business, let them buy into the vision, as it were, and keep there's an environment, there's a type of environment that you have in the business that encourages them to stay. But it's not easy, I'll tell you that, but it seems it's working for us, retaining good talent. Once we identify good talent, and good talent for us is a good work ethic. It's not so much about qualification.
You started Design Options, and Design Option was a partnership. A number of entrepreneurs believe that that's the way to go. That at least you have the partner, you can share the stress, you can share the success stories. Are there any tips? How was your partnership, and did it help? Is it something you would recommend to entrepreneurs that are thinking that they want to take on a partner?
Okay, now, partnerships. Starting out, my partnership was good. We complemented each other. A partnership is a lot like a marriage, especially if it's a 50-50, 60-40 partnership. It's a lot like a marriage. As those of us who are married know, there are good days and there are bad days. Unfortunately, my partnership would lasted for 25 years. We built the company together. Towards the end, it was also like a bad marriage, let me put it that way. Being that we started out young, the partnership agreement wasn't as clear-cut and defined as it should be. So my advice to anyone who wants to go into a partnership, I'm not saying do or don't, make sure you dot your I's very carefully and you cross your T's. We talk about our core competences. I know what mine are. I suspect my partner knew what hers were. I didn't know what hers were. So it wasn't a very equal partnership. But if all these things are taken into account before you enter into the partnership agreement, if the lines are clearly defined, the roles, the responsibilities, then don't leave any gray areas, that's what I would say. Now, towards the end of the partnership, it was a situation where, for medical reasons, she could no longer carry on with the partnership, and for whatever personal reasons, human beings being what they are, she didn't want me to carry on with the partnership. So she felt the best thing was to just end the business. As Dr. Maduka has said again, it's our dogged determination, and I can't remember the second thing he said, that's what keeps us going. So as she was closing one business, I was starting the other business, and we are still here today.
Thank you. So, I want to go back to talent. What do you look out for in talent? You mentioned passion and work ethics, but work ethics is not written on the forehead. I keep coming back to this because I even had another advisory session with one of my entrepreneurs, and it's the same challenge, and she's in the same kind of business. She's running a small manufacturing business, and she's finding it challenging getting staff. She's gotten the ones that have the certificate, she's gotten the ones that have the OND. How can you tell during the interview process if that is the right talent?
I will be very honest, it is one of the most difficult things to do. For me, there's been a lot of trial and error. I won't be dishonest about that. But one of the things that I find, first of all now, I've managed over time to get a good HR manager. There are certain things that HR people, there are certain questions they ask that sort of throws some light on the ethos, as it were, of the person. Once they've finished that level of interview, then once they've narrowed down to maybe 2 or 3 candidates for a job, I've recently just concluded with a new GM operations. Then the person comes to me. I'll use that meet and greet, as I call it, when it comes to my level, as an example. In speaking to this, she's a woman, in speaking to this woman, I found that certain questions or instances I would put to her, her thought processes more or less mirrored mine. The fact that they mirrored mine doesn't mean that she's the right person for the job. But the fact that she had a logical way of thinking, her attitude towards work, different things like that. When I put it all together, I said to myself, this is somebody that I can work with, but this is also somebody that understands the deadlines, the necessity to get people to work and to do things properly. And based on that, I took her on, and I'm yet to be disappointed.
So I could go on and on and on asking, but I'm going to open the floor now for questions.
I'm also into furniture production. I'm so glad to meet you today, Ma. For skilled labor, getting maybe accountants, architects, engineers, we really don't have much problem in that area because we have even some consultants that do those HR services for SMEs. But the area where I have a challenge is to get this, I don't want to call them artisans, people that are trained in furniture making. I have gone ahead to this Lagos State government school where they train people. I've made attempts there. I set up a small academy where they come in, I train them. They just don't stay. So the challenge is that I'm boxed up in one corner with just 2 people. I have a lot of demands, coming in. I'm not able to meet it. I'm overdriving these people because I don't want to let my clients down. Please, Ma, you have been in this business for a long while. How did you get these people? Where can I go? How can I get them? How can I make them stick? Thank you, Ma.
I run a photography business, and my question has to do more with marriage. What do you do? There's a way it balances with business. What do you do when maybe the person you got married to, I know a few ladies that have that situation, their spouse is no longer as passionate or doesn't have, because very few women have this zeal that you have. What do you do when you get to the level that you are the one pushing or forcing your husband? For me, I've been married for about 9 years now, and to be very honest with you, of course, thank God my wife is not here. Sometimes I get home and I'm not happy because I know the situation we are now is not too good. And then I get home and I see they've been watching TV for 5 hours. And I'm like, and if I get, talk, it will be like, we need to have fun. So how do you balance, that, knowing that you have the future that you think you're going to with your business?
My question would be, when you were thinking of production, what were the 3 key things that came through your mind? Second question would be, in terms of expansion, At what point would you think that a company has reached to think of backward integration into whatever that they're doing? That will be my 2 questions.
My question is, I don't know if you have several store outlets, but then my goal is to open more store outlets, and I worry about security. Who do I have open the store at different branches? So, like, how do we manage that security control for each branch outlet?
While going on how you keep your staff, you said we should make them see the future for themselves in the business. Well, I've been in business for quite a while, and I've tried this in so many ways. Please, can you just share how you do yours? That it works? Or I know it's dicey, I know it's neither here and there. I know that what works for you might not work for some of us, but if you can just know what you do that works right now. Thank you.
Thank you all for your questions. I'll start with my colleague here and the artisans. It actually is not easy keeping artisans. I would say, starting from, for me, I'll tell you my own story. Yes, I agree. When you're starting out, you just have a few people. You can have a lot of turnover. One of the things I've done with my artisans from the beginning is I've put them on a wage earning structure / a salary structure. Because of their level of education, they don't understand things the way the white collars understand. So you have to, I tend to, even when I'm speaking to them, I don't speak like this to them because I'm Igbo, so I don't speak Yoruba. A large portion of my staff are Yorubas. A large portion of my staff, apart from the artisans, are women. I forgot to mention that I'm very gender biased in my business. So the predominance of my white collar staff are women, and I find them more loyal. But the artisans are mostly men. And when I speak to them, I break it down to their level. For instance, I can't think of an example of if I wanted to say something to them on the floor. First, I speak broken. I say, how na day? The time we had a bad strike, I said to them, because we delay salary by 1 day, 2 days. Now you know, talk say you know they come work. Okay. So as una day, so una be man. So if una no give una wife money, chop money today, tomorrow, when una don't they give her for how many years? The woman say because of that she no go cook for you, and you know say she gets money where she dey hide her. How it go be for you? So I deal with them at that level. So as far as retaining them, what I think has helped me is the structure that I have put in place. So I have for employment, I have my head of production. That's his problem now, to find them. We have, we are structured. So even though they're on a wage, they earn wages and salaries. The salaries they earn is fixed such that even if there's no production, which there never is no production, they are guaranteed that. But then the harder they work, that's what affects their wages. So we avoid laziness. So you don't just think you can come clock in and collect your salary. That's one of the things we've done. As far as, and then we have medical benefits. They enjoy the same benefits as the white collar staff. So those are the things, and we keep talking to them and helping them understand that this is a family. We call ourselves the DO.II family. In the past, we're the Design Options family. So this is a family, and you belong here. There's a future for you here. You have problems, you can talk to us. We'll help you with your problems. That's what has worked for me. So as far as that is concerned. So the structure, I think in most of the questions, I'll take the marriage question last. In most of the questions, structure comes into place. On production, you said to me, what were the 3 things I thought about? I'm curious as to why you chose 3, not 2, not 5, and not 10. But I can think of 2 off the bat. The need was there. There was a need. I've always, again, in my little secondary school education on economics, and then subsequently, there's demand and supply. There was a demand for well-produced international standard furniture, not the typical, and I mean no disrespect, furniture that was available at the time from Alaba. Now Alaba is a conglomerate, so we can't even say that. So there was a need, and that's why I went into production. For me, in everything I have done, it's quality. That's one of my watchwords. There's goodwill, like Dr. Maduka said, ensuring that my word is my bond. My nickname, I tell my staff when I'm talking to them, Abume Ekweme. My name is Ekweme. As I say it, is as I do it. If I can't do it, I will not say that I'm going to do it. So in production, there was a need for furniture, and I needed to produce quality furniture. And I've had people come back to me after 20 years to say, I bought furniture from you 20 years ago. It has refused to break. I have no reason to change it. Can you buy it back from me so I can buy a more modern version? So that for me, it's those two things. That's what I thought about. Then on expansion, the lady that asked about expansion, you said at what point do I know there's a need for backward integration? I'm not sure where the lady is. Yes, I'm not quite sure what you mean by backward integration in relation to my business. Sorry.
Yeah, because you're already in production.
So I'm not sure what aspect. Why did I think there was a need to produce? Is that what aspect of backward integration is she referring to? Why did okay, because she mentioned it with expansion. I started manufacturing from the first day.
Yeah.
So by backward integration, I mean, I would assume you mean maybe growing, increasing my manufacturing.
That's right. Or whether you need to produce the leather yourself.
Okay. That is expanding on my raw material base and all that. At what point? When I started manufacturing, I did realize that, well, I'm not producing leather. Leather is cured from, I don't have a tannery and all that. But there are what I did more or less was, I started with one aspect of manufacturing. And as I grew, I ensured that everything that is required for a structure, I won't say a home or an office. Like right now, I'm doing the renovation for one of the private banking for one of the banks. So we have also expanded into refurbishment, structural. The only thing I haven't started yet is construction. We're working on that. But apart from the manufacturing, everything turnkey, anything that is required for an interior, we're able to deliver, let me put it that way. On the outlets, again, this comes back to structure. Once you have a structure in place, what applies for one outlet will apply for the other outlets. So you need to work on your structure, work on your systems, your processes. Once that is in place, checks and balances, accountability, it's then easier to roll out the next outlet and the next outlet and the next outlet. Finally, there was staff. Someone asked about how do I let my staff know that there's a future for them. Again, one of the things we've tried to do, the structure helps, because in creating a structure, you have your organogram. People can see their career path in the company. So I can give many examples of the staff who have stayed with me from the first company. Most of the staff moved with me when we started the new company, and a lot of them are still with me. One of them started as a secretary. She came to work over 10 years ago as a secretary to both directors. She moved from there into not procurement directly, but what we call foreign orders, the items we were importing for the business. Because of the fact that, and it was quite simple, because of the fact that she could speak and write good English, we had her handle that aspect of the business. From there, she's moved to procurement, and she's currently, at this time, the acting head of operations. So there's been, there's career paths, there's growth. So that is what I think, as much as possible, has handled that. Then on the issue of marriage, I have been married almost as long as I've run my business. That doesn't make me an expert. I think marriage is it's very subjective. It's the one partnership that is not objective. Now, one of the things I would advise younger ones in when you're getting married, there are things that you see in the other person that encourage you to say, okay, I want to marry this person. At a recent, when I talked about, I gave a talk recently on buying real estate with your spouse. And one of the things we talked about was that a lot of times now when people are getting married, they don't sit down to decide what sort of life they are going to have. What are their dreams, what are their visions, what are their goals for the marriage, for their children. And so as a result of that, some marriages are not working out as well as they should have. There's so many other reasons. Now, I must say, and I forgot to say, like Dr. Maduka mentioned, cosmas and charity. My husband and I have never been in business, but he has been one of my biggest clients. Not by business he has actually said, here, go and do this business. But he's been one of my greatest marketers. He has encouraged my business. He has allowed me to run a business and grow my business without interfering, in fact, encouraging, not even interfering. One of the reasons for that, I later learned, and my father had mentioned to me when I told him I was getting married, he asked me several questions. What sort of background do they have? It was similar to mine. Does he have any younger ones? I didn't understand it at that time, that he's training who will come and live with you. It's not a question of training. You can train the younger ones, but are they going to come and live with you? Those questions I didn't understand at the time. But those things have turned out true. No, he didn't. So we had very similar backgrounds. His mother was the first female permanent secretary of the Western region. So his mother had always been a career woman, sat on many boards. So he understood the importance of women running a business or having a career, and he has encouraged me. So my only advice is, yes, the television is a problem. Dr. Maduka doesn't have television at home. I'm not saying that the rest of us should not have televisions at home. But what I would advise is communication. Find a way to talk to your wife. Encourage her. Maybe help her in setting up a business or a job. I'm not sure what the details are. We can speak further after this if you want further advice. But I have found that his encouragement has helped me a lot to get to where I am now.
And with that, I'd like to come to a close. Thank you very much for sharing. So just like Dr. Maduka, I think what I have learned is that no matter where we are, the principles are still the same. Since morning is the same thing that we've been saying. So it's obvious, we just have to face it and deal with it. She's talked about the same thing. She was mentored, and it's the mentoring that helped her to where she is. Dr. Maduka was also mentored. You can call it apprenticeship, but it's some sort of mentoring. And it's that has helped him to where he is. So my question now to us here, how many people have we mentored? A lot of us don't show our staff where they're going. So for them, it's a dead end, and they're managing us. They're waiting till Access Bank calls them, or till one telecommunication firm calls them, because you haven't showed them where they're going. They don't even understand what they're doing. And it's the same thing, whatever organization it is. Dr. Maduka mentioned the same thing. The 7-year one champion after they die. Because you want to hold everything to yourself, you will go down with everything. So our advice is believe in yourself, have clarity of vision, and be committed to that process. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for spending time with us. Don't run away. Let's stay back to continue the conversation. Thank you very much, and see you next year.